Hi, my name is Autif Kamal. This is another episode of Be Logical. In this episode, I'm going to talk about the sequester. It's been a trending topic with a lot of media outlets. Specifically, I'm going to talk about where the idea came from, the goal that has been expressed of the sequester, who it directly affects, why its goal is flawed, and how the sequester could be improved upon. Now, Jack Kingston first mentioned the idea of the sequester in a 2010 Wall Street Journal interview. Jack Kingston is a Georgia Republican representative. And this is a quote of him saying what the sequester is supposed to do. If appropriators exceed the spending targets set early in the fiscal year under the Budget Control Act of 2011, automatic sequesters or across-the-board program cuts would be imposed. And I got this from Politicus USA. The name of the article is Republican Rep. Jack Kingston introduced sequestration as a GOP reform in 2010, and it's by Sarah Jones. So, the sequester is a way of counterbalancing the government going over its spending targets. It's important for one's spending to not exceed their available finances, but at the same time, if they had more money, then they'd be able to spend more. So, just something to think about. Also, another purpose that has been expressed for the sequester was made by Speaker John Boehner. The sequestration process is designed to guarantee that Congress acts on the Joint Committee's legislation, says Speaker John Boehner. So, the Joint Select Committee's budget is supposed to be a substitute for the sequestration. The sequestration is supposed to serve as a threat. Now, the sequestration is only a threat to those who are affected by the sequestration. So then the natural question to ask is, who is affected by the sequestration? Well, let me give you some examples. And also, before I give you the example, something to keep in mind is, if you want to threaten someone, in this case the Joint Select Committee, the suggested consequence should directly affect them. Okay, so now let's see who it actually directly affects. And these services that I'm going to mention, they're receiving budget cuts of in the double-digit millions or triple-digit millions. So you have aging and disabilities, mental health programs, public housing and homeless housing grants, disaster relief money, food and inspection safety, healthcare fraud and abuse control, special education programs, higher education, student financial assistance, customs and border protection, defense, environmental cleanup, and many more, which can be seen in the article at Think Progress. It's titled The 32 Dumbest and Most Devastating Sequester Cuts. It's by Igor Volsky. Now, first off, those mostly affect what I'm referring to as the financially disadvantaged. And if you want to confirm whether the other budget cuts also affect generally the financially disadvantaged, you can see the rest of those budget cuts at the article I just mentioned. And also notice that none of those budget cuts directly affect a congressperson. And also understand that, relatively speaking, compared to those who rely on those services, a congressperson is generally not financially disadvantaged because they have an average salary of $174K. Okay, and I'm getting that salary from About.com from the article Salaries and Benefits of U.S. Congress Members. It's by Robert Longley. What doesn't make any sense about this sequestration process is that those who lack power to pass a budget, such as those depending on those services, are punished because those who do possess the power, and i.e. the Congress, fail to pass one. So that doesn't make any sense. So that means consequences need to be made that directly affect the individuals who have the power to pass a budget. And here's some ideas. You could say that if they don't pass a budget by a given deadline, their salary will be suspended and they will be prohibited from receiving any donations. So essentially, cut them off of all their financial sources if they cannot arrive at a budget. That's what you would do if you would want to incentivize them to arrive at a budget by a given time. And then you wouldn't have to make this needless threat of cutting services that people rely on. Also, I question the purpose of the sequestration. It's very one-sided because it only focuses on reductions. And think about, why would you want spending reductions in the first place? Well, you want spending reductions because maybe you don't want to add to the debt, you want to reduce the federal debt. The problem with simply focusing on spending reductions is that it doesn't necessarily reduce federal debt. All it does is reduce the amount of debt accumulated. If you want to pay off the debt, or if you want to reduce the debt, you need to pay it off. So you must earn more money to pay it off. Okay, so for example, let's say you have to pay off a credit card. Reducing how much you spend each day doesn't necessarily get rid of your credit card bill. Maybe it earns you more money to pay off your credit bill. Maybe by cutting the amount of money you spend on food, gas, leisure activities, and so on, you can use that extra money to pay off your debt. But it would also help if you make more money, say by getting more hours working on their job, and so on. So that shouldn't be ignored in the paying off the debt mindset. So an improved sequester, what it would do is not simply have automatic budget reductions, but also have automatic revenue generation. And in both cases, I would say budget reductions is revenue generation as needed. I'm saying that because I think it's an open question where the budget could be reduced and how you could earn revenue. I think thoughtful answers could be given to the questions of where to reduce the budget, where to generate revenue. As far as generating revenue, I have an idea, which is that you would have to raise taxes in a few different ways. Now, I have a chart here that I'm getting from the Heritage Network. It's by Rob Bluey. The name of the article is Chart of the Week: Where Does the Federal Government Get Its Revenue? Now, what I've noticed is the greatest section of the revenues, of the federal revenue, is from individual taxes. So that's $898.5 billion. That's about 41.5%. Now what's interesting is that corporate taxes is only 8.9% of federal revenue, which is about $191.5 billion. Okay, so there's room to raise taxes there to increase federal revenue and to lower the need to cut services that people rely on. And also, estate and gift taxes are only 0.9% of federal revenue, or $18.9 billion. So there's room there to raise taxes. Those are some quick ideas for how the federal government could raise revenue and then cut less services than what it's doing through the sequestration. And that's it. Alright, thank you.